Why were the staff holding army bombs? The adorable secret behind Jin BTS's LA rehearsal that no one saw coming. It wasn't the performance. It wasn't even the stage. It was the way they held those light sticks. Not with precision, not with duty, but with something softer, something fans know by heart. And it happened behind closed doors, in a room not meant for spectators. But someone pressed record. And now the world can't stop watching. What really happened during Jin's private rehearsal in LA just days before he set to perform again for the first time since his military discharge? Why were staff members, not fans, standing in rows, holding army bombs in the dark, cheering like a crowd? And what was that moment, that pause, when Jin, soaked in sweat, suddenly turned around and seemed to freeze, staring at the lights as if they weren't props but memories? The answer begins with a simple idea. What if the performer is nervous, even terrified? What if Jin, after all his years of commanding arenas and stadiums, felt a flicker of uncertainty returning to a stage after so long? What if the ones who see him every day, his managers, his stylists, his tech crew, decided to become fans, just for a moment, to remind him what it feels like to be loved? And so they did. One by one, the staff lined up in silence.
No instruction, no rehearsal.
Just a silent gesture. Army bombs in hand, heartbeats loud. And Jin didn't know until he looked up during a break between vocal warm-ups. The moment he saw them, those familiar lights, glowing from unfamiliar hands, he didn't smile. Not at first. His expression cracked, fragile, like someone who had just remembered something they weren't ready to feel again. Was it overwhelming? Was it healing? Cameras caught the moment his hand reached up to his chest. A reflex, a reaction, a message. He mouthed something. You can't quite hear it, but fans online have been guessing. Thank you. I missed this. I'm home. But why now? Why in LA? Why this rehearsal of all things, when the real stage still awaits? And what else did those cameras capture? Moments even the staff didn't expect. Stay tuned, because what happens next is not what you think. He didn't expect to feel nervous. Not after everything. Not after surviving the silence of 2 years in uniform, the heavy quiet of early mornings, the uniformity, the solitude. But there's a strange kind of vulnerability that comes not when you're alone, but when you return. And for Kim Seokjin, stepping back into the light wasn't just about performing. It was about facing what he had been away from. And that's exactly why this rehearsal wasn't like any other. The location was private. It always is. No fans. No media. Just mirrors, lights, sound, and him. The space wasn't glamorous. A standard rehearsal hall in LA. Walls painted white. Floor marked with worn-out tape. Microphones dangling from corners. But if you looked closely, something about this room felt different. There was an echo to it, not just of sound, but of time. Time missed. Time reclaimed. He showed up early. Jin always does. Hair still damp from the shower. A plain, oversized hoodie. His favorite sneakers. No camera crew. Just one discreet handheld recorder placed on a tripod in the corner of the room. Quiet, minimal. The intention wasn't content. It was memory. He wanted to remember this. He plugged in his in-ears himself. Tested the mic, walked across the studio, tapping his palm against his chest in rhythm with a silent count in his head. He breathed in deep. Once, twice. Then he closed his eyes. The first track played. And just like that, Seokjin disappeared and Jin reappeared. The artist. The voice. The man Army hadn't heard live in too long. Moon echoed first. Soft, deliberate. His voice cracked halfway through the second verse. Not from pitch, but from emotion. He stopped. Looked down. Whispered. It's been a while. Then he kept going. Then came the astronaut. The room shifted. He didn't sing it like he did on stage last time. He sang it like he was talking to someone no longer in the room. Maybe the fans. Maybe someone else. Maybe himself. And still, no staff made a sound. But they were there. Watching from just outside the room, managers, choreographers, sound techs, hairstylists, the people who usually hide in the shadows of the show, now standing still, arms folded, holding something they didn't usually carry, army bombs. The very same light sticks that glow in millions of hands across stadiums around the world. Where did they get them? One staff member confessed later. We planned it secretly. We knew this rehearsal would mean something more to him. So we thought, why not bring the fans to him if he can't go to them yet? They bought them online. Rushed shipping. They didn't even ask the company. They just did it. It wasn't about a stunt. It was about comfort, about love. And during a break, right before he started practicing Epiphany, someone dimmed the overhead lights. Jin looked up confused. And then, one by one, the army bombs lit up, glowing like stars.
Dozens of them.
In complete silence, he laughed. Not the polite kind, the real kind. The kind you only let out when something breaks inside you in the best possible way. You guys, he said, voice trembling. You're really doing this? No one answered. They just shook their bombs, the way fans do. Some of the staff even started swaying side to side. That's when the tears almost came. Not the loud kind, not dramatic. Just that subtle glisten in the corner of his eyes. The kind you pretend not to notice because crying isn't part of the schedule, but make no mistake, this moment wasn't rehearsed. And it might just be the most unforgettable rehearsal in his life. What happened next? That's where it gets even more unexpected. Because Jin didn't stop. He didn't pause. He turned to the mic again and sang something no one had heard him rehearse in public. Not since the old days. Not since before enlistment. Not even during Festa. The first note came so gently that no one recognized it at first. Just a quiet hum, barely louder than the soft static of the speakers. Then the melody rose, familiar, nostalgic, aching. I Will Come to You. A song not written by Jin, not composed under the BTS banner, but one that seemed destined for his voice. A promise disguised as lyrics. A lullaby wrapped in devotion. The room froze. It was unrehearsed, unscheduled, but utterly intentional. His voice trembled at first. There was a hesitance, one that didn't come from fear, but from the weight of meaning. As he sang, the lyrics transformed. They no longer belonged to the original artist. They belonged to him now. Every word felt pulled from somewhere deep within, as if Jin was using the song not just as a message, but as an answer. To the fans who had waited, to the friends who had stayed, to the staff who had silently supported him while pretending it was just another workday. When he reached the line, when you feel lost and alone and you can't go on, he didn't just sing it. He closed his eyes. His hand clenched the mic. And the rest of the room went quiet in a way that only grief and love can silence. People point one of the makeup stylists was seen wiping her eyes, shoulders shaking as the light from her army bomb flickered gently. A vocal coach, usually strict and stoic, stood utterly still, arms crossed tightly across his chest, gaze locked on the floor. Even the manager, his longtime companion across countless tours, recorded the moment on his phone with hands trembling slightly. Because they all knew this wasn't a rehearsal anymore. This was healing. This was return. This was Jin letting himself be vulnerable in front of the only people who knew what he had left behind and what it took to come back. As the last note faded, Jin stood still.
He didn't bow. He didn't speak.
He simply stood there, eyes open but glassy, staring out at the sea of fake stars, the army bombs now dimming slowly in the hands of people who had become his silent audience. And then he smiled. The real one. The unmistakable Seokjin smile that fans know like the back of their hand.
Wide, bright, soft.
Unspoken words dancing behind it. I think I'm ready now, he finally whispered. One of the staff members clapped. Then another. Then another. And soon, the entire room was applauding. Not like crew members applauding a job well done, but like fans who had just witnessed something sacred. A beginning. A return that it was raw. It was imperfect. And yet, it was perfect in all the ways that matter. The rehearsal ended not with an announcement, not with a schedule update, but with laughter. Jin joked about how the lights made it hard to concentrate. He teased the staff for going full army mode. Someone passed him a towel. Another handed him a water bottle shaped like a mini rocket. He took both with a mock royal bow, his dramatic humor returning like it had never left. But everyone knew something had shifted. This was more than a warm-up for LA. This was more than just choreography or vocals. This was a man standing on the edge of something new, carrying the weight of time, loss, and expectation, but no longer alone. The footage, captured in secret, will likely never be fully released. Only clips may surface. A few photos, maybe. But the real story, the real emotion, that lives with those who were there. Those who held the bombs. Those who lit up the dark, not because they were told to, but because they wanted him to feel what he once gave them. Light as Jin left the rehearsal space, he turned back one last time. The staff had lined up like fans at barricade. Army bombs raised in silent salute, and Seokjin, worldwide handsome, the moon, the eldest young, didn't say goodbye. He said, simply, "See you out there."